So a bit of controversy around the DLC for Callisto Protocol. This is a classic situation where people are like jumping to conclusions and lying and all this stuff. So this is my interpretation of it. So they're gonna have DLC. So there's like skins and there's like new game modes and additional skins and story DLC here that we can see. What they do is they're reading this and they say, well, they're gonna like create like 100% of the game and cut off 10% and put that into DLC. We're only actually buying 90% of the game or whatever, right? They're also seeing the Contagion bundle also includes 13 new Jacob death animations. There's people who are saying that you're buying death animations. So this is a bit of like really bad journalism, aka lying. People know this is not the case. If you read this, it's not hard to understand. If you were to buy this bundle, you're not actually only buying death animations. And it's not difficult to think of the obvious possibility that if they add monsters or add dangerous equipment into the environment, you're going to have new ways of getting Jacob's head cut off. So they're going to have new death animations, obviously. And then Glenn says, this is his tweet here, we're not holding anything back from the season pass. We haven't started this work yet, that we're going to start on it next year because fans have asked for more deaths. We're going to make it a priority next year. So this is like a whole rat's nest we need to untangle. So let's start with the new death animation. If they add new content to the game, it will likely include monsters and hazards, which will obviously mean, or like scripted events, which will obviously mean we're going to see new colorful ways in which Jacob dies. This has been a marketing point since, in Dead Space and in Callisto Protocol. The problem is, if you go to YouTube or certain journalists are saying, in Callisto Protocol, you're going to buy new death animations. That's only technically true, but it's not usefully true, okay? That's like saying in the base game for Callisto Protocol, you're going to buy ammunition because within the $60 that you're spending for the game, they're going to have ammunition drops. It's obviously a misrepresentation. It's like basically a lie. And then people are concerned about this idea that you make some game and then you slice off a part of it and then sell it for $10 afterwards, whatever. So people pay $70 instead of $60 for the full game. So first thing I want to say about that is, how could you possibly know that? Let's say they did do that. How could you prove it? The answer is you can't, right? So at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're deciding, do I trust Glenn? Do I trust the new IP and their vision to put down $60? And if not, well, I either won't buy the game or I'll wait until it goes on sale. My decision is I'm going to give them the full $60 because that's what I feel is right. Second thing I want to say, and this will be controversial. This is how I think this is. So this, when he says we haven't even started on this content yet, this is most likely a lie, but it is a justified lie because you have to say this because people have no idea how games are developed. To say what's actually going on would immediately create like really bad PR, not because Glenn's lying or holding something from people, but because they have no idea how games are developed. Now, I could be wrong, but here's my justification for this. Imagine a bell curve. The start of the development, you begin viz dev processes, and you plan out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what it's going to take for funds and so on. And in the center of the process, you ramp up your development team and you add lots of people to work on what the vision is. Towards the end of the development process, though, the game's done, or it's basically done. It's very close to being done. So what you're doing is you're testing things, you're polishing things, you're working out like advertising deals, distribution, and that sort of thing. So all the artists and the general workers that you need to make the bulk of the game, if they have a contract, they're gone. If they are in-house talent, they have to work on something because you don't want to pay them for doing nothing. So you start them working on the next thing for the Callisto Protocol. This is most likely the planning phase and working on content for the DLC. However, if Glenn were to say this, people would just not understand that. That would be seen as you are working on the DLC during the time which you should be working on the main game. So you are slicing it up in a way that's advantageous for you financially, and you're not giving us what's owed to us. That's what people would be saying. So it is unfortunately useful due to ignorance to say this lie. Now, that could be wrong, but that's my take on it. Knowing what I know about large games and like their development, that sort of thing, or just game development in general, I should say, that this is kind of what you do, is you have to kind of overlap your projects. This kind of leads into this related issue of, is DLC fair? Is it fair to sell skins? Is it fair to sell additional game modes or story or whatever it is? And the answer is very simple. You have to decide for yourself. It's such an annoying thing to me personally. It's like people have like this hard time of like wrapping their minds around. Like if you have $1, you get to decide what you spend that on, right? No one's forcing you to buy a crappy game. If you're like an adult, at least, if you shouldn't be so impressionable as to like spend your money on games you don't like, and you should have a sense of like what is good and what is bad. At least I think you should. I mean, I've purchased games that I regret. Like it's only a handful of games I've ever bought and then I thought, wasn't for me. Most of the games I buy, I know what I'm getting into. When I see gameplay, I don't care about cinematic trailers that much. I like seeing them. But what I really want to see is gameplay because I know generally what I want and what I like. And I think I know what works when I see it as a general rule of thumb. I mean, I'm wrong sometimes, but as a general rule of thumb. So I want to see gameplay, and that's how I make a decision. If I'm uncertain, I wait for a sale. I mean, my goodness, there's so many platforms for games. And there's so many, you get like 5 sales a year. It seems like on every platform, you're going to find a discount at some point. And you can even share games with your friends on Steam. I mean, my gosh, it's never been easier to get all these awesome games. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about this stuff. It's like, just chill out, right? Stop lying about stuff. It's just this annoying cycle of like, you take something out of context. There is a bundle. It is, within the bundle are death animations that are new. Therefore, you're buying death animations. OMG, Callisto Protocol is awful and Glenn is a terrible person. It's like, no. And people do this because it gets clicks. So anyway, I just wanted to clear some things up, how I saw it, and shed some light on the process. If you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to share. Could be wrong, but those are my thoughts. Thanks.